and achieving by working together, this partnership with them, and sustainability. So, which markets are Sunnova going to be available in as a TPO product moving forward? Well, like you saw on the announcement email, the following markets are going to be opening today: California, Virginia, Colorado, Arkansas, Georgia, Illinois, Florida, Ohio, New Mexico, Oregon, South Carolina, Idaho, Nevada, Oklahoma, and Utah. So this launch is large in scale. We're opening a bunch of states all at once. And after this webinar, you should feel a lot more comfortable in gaining access to Catalyst, how to work their system, and how to submit to Freedom. So if you're in one of these markets, you should be very excited as we move forward with Sunnova as one of our new finance partners. So again, how do TPOs work? For a lot of these markets, there's never been a TPO option. We understand what is a TPO system. You're working in a place that hasn't offered them before, like a place like Virginia, or limited availability in a place like Georgia. Well, TPO stands for third-party ownership. Sunnova provides residential solar energy solutions, and what a TPO means is that Sunnova is the owner of the system, so therefore they claim all tax benefits for that system. Sunnova also operates with utility escalators, so we'll talk about that in our demo for Catalyst, but they offer products with escalators to offer the lowest possible initial payment that will raise annually slower than your typical utility rates. Because Sunnova is the owner of that system, they handle the maintenance, repairs, and are responsible for that system operationally. And there are a couple of different products that are available. There's the PPA option and the lease option, and each state will have its own products. So we'll give a deeper breakdown of that as in a recap and which products are offered in each state. So let's break down the different options for the PPAs and the leases. So a power purchase agreement, the customer only pays for power the system produces, and that way they can lock in a low kWh rate for 25 years, and that's a flexible monthly payment and has multiple rate options. And again, like all these options, that system is owned by Sunnova. Another product they offer is the PPA Easy, where if a homeowner goes with that PPA Easy, they'll pay the same every month for a guaranteed amount of power. Again, they're going to lock in that low kWh rate for 25 years, but this is a fixed monthly payment. And then in states where PPAs aren't available and there's an equipment lease, a lease offers competitive pricing without the hassle of applying for incentives. They have a predictable monthly payment based on equipment cost, and it's solar plus battery available. So what are some of the credit requirements and best practices and what you're allowed to do with Sunnova? Sunnova has a 650 or above FICO credit requirement. They can have no bankruptcies in the last 7 years or no derogatory accounts or trade lines in recent credit history, but they do not consider DTI and they have no income verification. So as far as property owners, it's allowed for individuals, trusts, LLCs, S-corps, general and limited partnerships, and life estates. But what's not allowed are governments, co-ops, nonprofits, and incorporated holding companies. So what kind of property types are you allowed to do with Sunnova? You can do single-family homes, duplexes, triplexes, townhomes, condos. So what's not allowed is commercial or other non-residential properties, investment or rental properties, or multifamily housing. So let's talk about some Sunnova Catalyst best practices. The Sunnova project workflow is going to be a little bit different than starting a lead in Lightspeed. For Sunnova, you will begin your project in Catalyst, which is Sunnova's portal. So you'll build your lead, design the system, and generate your project from Sunnova's portal Catalyst. You'll complete credit and document requirements there as well. So when you're signing up a customer, you'll have all of the access to those documents. You'll send them to them from Catalyst and complete the process there. You will then sign the customer up for the My Sunnova app. For all TPO products, the ACH autopay is required. No autopay, no TPO product. So get in the habit of including that information with your homeowners. You'll complete the online verification call from the My Sunnova app as well, and we'll give you a little demo video of what that looks like here later in this webinar. After all of those requirements are complete, you've done the design, you've completed credit and the document requirements and signed them up for My Sunnova and completed the verification. You return to Lightspeed and manually generate the project, which again, we'll demo for you here in a second. So how do you go about accessing Catalyst for Sunnova? We're going to jump over to the portal now and demonstrate really designing a lead in Sunnova Catalyst from the beginning to the end, and then we'll submit it to Lightspeed. All right, we are over at quoting.sunnova.com, and when you log in, you're in their leads dashboard. We're going to create a new lead. So for this project, we are going to work on something that's a little bit closer to the state of Georgia. So I'm going to drop in an address here into the location and then choose that location from the drop down here. That's going to jump us directly to the location in question. You'll see a pin location here. Again, this is an Aurora instance, so we want to make sure that we've dragged the pin to the correct location. So we can move that pin around on the roof, make sure it's directly in the center. And if we're good to go, we'll click Create Solar Lead. So when the address pops up, you'll typically see a green checkbox here or that yellow exclamation point. Now what that means is whenever that point is there, you may need additional documentation to prove that's a single family home. In this case, we're going to click Save and Continue, and that takes us to the primary contact. So it pulls a title check. For the purpose of this demonstration, we're not going to use the title check names. We're going to click Add New Contact and put in a test account name. So we'll go ahead and do that now and move forward. After you create the lead, it's going to take you to the energy usage page where we're going to choose our utility, we're going to choose our solar rate, and our estimated annual increase for power. So we're going to keep this at Georgia Power for this Georgia project, and then we'll choose the residential rate. You'll see different rates here, but for this, we're just going to click the top one, residential, for demonstration purposes. If you know the rate, you can choose that rate. Now for annual utility increase, we're going to make sure that we click the bottom one for the maximum utility increase. That's best practice from Sunnova, so you get the most accurate representation when you're presenting the proposal. And then for post-install solar rate, best practice again from Sunnova is to just keep that at the residential rate that you just quoted at the top. So now we have a choice to enter the full annual usage or the monthly usage. So you can select month by month and enter that kWh usage and then add additional months. So I'm just going to drop in a base number here for the demonstration and save that usage to move on to the next page. Now, as soon as you click the usage, it's going to load the system design page. So you're going to notice some familiar tools here if you've used Aurora. So you'll have the panels, the irradiance, the sun path, typical tools you would find in Aurora. But in Catalyst, in their Aurora instance, it's going to build the max fit for you, and then you can choose which panels in the design from here. So we're waiting for the irradiance to calculate. You'll see the default panels, you'll see the inverters populate at the bottom as well. And then once this process finishes, you'll have a max fit for that property based on Sunnova's calculation in their Aurora instance, and you'll be able to design the system and choose the panels at will. So you can see the max fit here gave this a system size of 213% and 74 panels. So we're going to reduce that, but we want to make sure we understand where the best place to reduce those panels to get the most out of our system. So I click the irradiance tool, and now I can see the best spots on the roof and the LiDAR to see what obstructions are there. So I can really design the system and give the homeowner the max benefit. You can also use that sun path tool as a demonstration to demonstrate to the homeowner exactly how the sun moves over their property. So by clicking and holding on some of these panels, I can now reduce the system size and tinker with this system to get it to 100% offset. Now, a quick way to do that would also be to use some of the tools that are built into Catalyst. So on the right side, you'll see Set Target Offset. When you click that button, you'll be able to set a target. So let's set the target here for 110%. So we're at 213 now, but we want to get down. What this will do is reanalyze the roof and try to get as close to that offset with the least amount of panels. And you can see here, it's going to finish up the system design and give us an offset that has eliminated a vast majority of the panels on that northern plane here so that we can get as close to 115% as possible. So when that design comes back, yes, we are close to that 106% offset, but is this necessarily the best design? So if I want to, I have control over turning off the panels and turning on the ones that I want. So to remove some of those islands, I'll do that now and then configure this so all of the panels are on the same roofing plane. So now that I've finished and put those all on that southern facing roofing plane, all going in the same direction, if I need to know what the offset would be for that system, I can go over to the left-hand side and click Calculate Production. But before we do that, I want to go down to the Configure System button here and show you how to change the orientation. You can do full portrait or full landscape, or go to the different configuration options, change the panel type. Right? So if I didn't want to use the current panel, those Q cells, I could click the solar panel drop-down menu and choose the available options. Obviously, refer to the adder sheet to see what's the current base model for all of these Sunnova projects. You can do the same thing for inverters as well, or choose any battery options for that product. So for this project, let's go ahead and choose a Tesla Powerwall. So I've chosen a Powerwall. It's giving me a different quantity amount, and I'm going to go ahead and choose 1 for this to configure this demonstration with 1 battery. And you'll see afterwards, it will change that system configuration and show me my battery, my offset, and the amount of panels we have now for this project. So you can also see here that I have the Powerwall selected for this project. If I wanted to change that, I would need to go back to the reconfigure and add additional batteries. So I'll go ahead and click the Calculate Production and just confirm that everything is good with my offset and that I can move this project forward. Everyone's happy with the design. Let's get this over to the pricing screen, where the first thing we'll do is click Manually Enter Pricing. So when we click Manually Enter Pricing, what it's going to do now is generate a list of available options for products. And we're working in the state of Georgia, so we're going to demonstrate one of the PPA options. So on this drop-down menu, you'll see what are the available TPOs. We have the 25-year lease, the lease plus storage, because we add the Powerwall, the 25-year PPA, and the PPA Easy, which is what we're going to select for this example. So when I choose the 25-year PPA, the next thing we want to do is choose pricing method. Now, best practice here and the easiest thing to do, especially for TPO, is to click solar rate. Now, I'm going to choose 14 cents for this example. So we're choosing 14 cents. For down payment, we're always going to choose 0. And for rebate, we'll always choose 0. And then we'll choose the escalator. In the state of Georgia, the maximum escalator is 1.9%, so I'll choose that, and then we can click Calculate Pricing. That will show you what the monthly payment is for this project once it's completed and it validates all of the equipment. So it's $187.57 at 14 cents. And you can see on the dealer details what the EPC is per watt for that project. So I'm going to click Add Pricing to Proposal, and we're going to demonstrate now what it looks like to add multiple quotes, right? Remember, when we designed this system, we added a Tesla Powerwall to the project. So I'm going to quote this at $187.57 without the battery, and then we're going to demonstrate what it looks like to add that battery to it so you can show and demonstrate how much the battery cost is per month. So I'm adding pricing again, and we're going to choose that 25-year lease plus storage. Now, again, you can choose one of these different options. We know that the EPC we set before was 2.89, so I'm going to put that so we can maintain that same price. So at dealer amount per watt, I'm putting 2.89. I'm not going to do the rebate or the down payment, and I'm going to choose the exact same escalator at 1.9. But now I'm going to refer to our adder sheet, and I know that the Tesla Powerwall is $12,750. So I'm adding that to the cost of the system. So now that when I validate the price, you will see that the price will come back as the $187 for the battery. The total monthly cost now is $243.69, and you can see that the monthly battery cost is $59.20. Now, the great thing about adding the battery to this project is if you're using an escalator, it only applies to the PV system. It doesn't apply to the battery. So that escalator is only for the 187. That's basically the part of the system that's not battery. You can see we've maintained the same price per watt here, and then we can click Add Pricing to Proposal. So what this is going to do now, since we have two separate quotes for two different prices, is we're going to generate this proposal for the customer to demonstrate both with battery and without, right? So we can see we have our two options here. I can click the proposal button on the top right, and this is what you can present to the customer. You can click that share button on the upper right hand side and add a phone number and email address. What that's going to do is create a dynamic link so that if you do make any changes to the proposal, if the homeowner refreshes, those changes will push out to them. On the upper right hand side, you can also choose between English and Spanish. So if you need to present the proposal in Spanish, if you've started in Spanish, I'm going to switch back to English and go over the different steps of the proposal. So you have a snapshot of the design. We have our battery included that we put in here. And then we have the My Sunnova app. And I'm going to reiterate this like we did earlier in the presentation. If you do a TPO product, lease or PPA, they have to sign up for My Sunnova and get the ACH settled, right? So here is our example for the easy PPA without the battery. So this would be the cost. There's their solar rate and the monthly payment. Now I'm going to jump down to the easy plan equipment lease, which demonstrates the cost of that system with the battery included and the battery cost. So as you can see, this is a very efficient way to demonstrate multiple proposals with your homeowner. We can scroll down and see the different savings throughout the year one savings, the lifetime savings, the different rates, what it would be with or without, and what the savings are on average. So if we are satisfied with that, we can click download draft contract. What this will do is create a draft of the contract that you can then go over with the homeowner in advance of qualifying or signing, answer any questions about the contract. And then if they are ready to qualify, what we can do is click see if I qualify. And that's going to be the process of running credit with Sunnova. So click the see if I qualify button, and that's going to ask me to choose of those on the list of contacts who we're going to qualify. So I'm going to choose the test account and click continue. In order to review the e-sign, you must actually click the e-sign, and that will allow you to then click and agree to continue. So you have to click that document in order to progress. Now, here's where we'll put in the homeowner's information, their email, their phone, DOB, social, and do the acknowledgments and consents to then run the credit check. So similar to the acknowledgments and consents, you do have to click the links in order to check those boxes. So click those links, check the boxes. You can then, so if everything is complete, you've got your name, date of birth, social, you click verify eligibility, and that's going to send an email to the customer that, are you sure you want to run this? They click yes, credit get runs, takes about 20 seconds. So after everything is done and you've qualified the homeowner, now we need to send the contract to the homeowner. So I'm going to return to dealer view and click manage lead. From here, we have already verified that we have this main point of contact. After credit qualification, you'll get a green check mark for qualification, and then we need to do title verification. So if you have all three of these complete, we're going to verify the title for the person that we created, the test account, and now we're going to go and sign the contract. So if you have a green checkbox for all three of these phases, the homeowner, the qualification, and the title, you can click, instead of share proposal, it will now say share contract. When you click on share contract, it's going to send your customer an email of the contract in DocuSign form. So they will click to sign all the way through the DocuSign. As soon as they've completed that, from this point, we're going to talk about My Sunnova. So I'm going to show you a quick demonstration video of My Sunnova and then walk you through the My Sunnova process so that you feel fully acclimated on doing that with each one of your customers.
Sunnova had a bright idea. We wanted to make contract validation easy for you and your customers with the magic of online completion. Say goodbye to waiting for validation phone calls or dialing up our customer care center. With online contract validation, your customers can grab their phones or any other device and validate their contract whenever, wherever. So, what exactly is online contract validation? It's a virtual handshake between Sunnova and your customers. A convenient way for the customer to confirm that they fully understand and agree to the terms and conditions of the contract they just signed. Also, it's a breeze to add recurring payment information and completing 2 project blocks at once. Remember that the person completing the validation should be the primary signer of the contract, the person who has successfully passed the credit check. Make sure they have their recurring payment information because they'll need that too. After your customer receives the welcome email from Sunnova, assist them in creating and logging into their My Sunnova account, where they can start the online contract validation process. Step 1. Ensure the customer verifies you as their trusted Sunnova sales rep. Step 2. Customers need to verify their identity. They have 3 options. Option A. Your customers can choose to verify by text message. They simply need to enter the code sent to their phone. We highly recommend this option. It's quick and straightforward. Option B. They can verify by photo identification. They will need to capture a selfie along with a picture of their identification. Option C. Customers can answer verification questions based on their personal information. We'll go with option A, to get verified by text message. Click on Send Text Message and input the code sent to your phone. Click Continue. Step 3. Allow the customer to validate their contact information, email address, and phone number. Step 4. It's time for them to verify their contract details. Double-check that all contract, product, and payment details are accurate. During this step, they will be able to select their payment drafting date. Step 5. Customers will be prompted to add their preferred recurring payment method. They can choose between a banking account or a credit card. Step 6. You're done. Contract validation is complete. So, there you have it. No more waiting, no more phone calls. Just a straightforward process that you can complete from the comfort of your device. Thanks for watching.
So now that we've completed the My Sunnova process, the last step, because we've got the qualification, the contract signed, they've completed the validation, now we need to submit this project to Lightspeed. So I've returned to Lightspeed, and I'm going to choose the Generate Project button. When I get to the Generate Project button, I'm going to use Sunnova as my option. And now we're going to put in the address, verify the PIN is in the correct location, and move to the next screen. This was a Georgia Power account. And here's where we will populate the rest of the customer's information. We will set the preferred language and main point of contact. Choose the utility bill holder if it's the same as the person on title or if it's someone else. Was there an HOA? Are there any locked gates? Did they go with one of the Safe Streets packages? This was a 29 panel system in the first year production. Roof mounted system. We did add a battery to the system, so we're doing full backup. If there were any upgrades like N-phase or MPU, we would check those boxes here, or EV chargers. Here is a summary of the system. On the contract and proposal, we were able to grab the price of the system. You'll need to make note of this when you are generating this project in Lightspeed. It will be included on the dealer amount. Now we're going to complete the wrapping it up section, where this was a self-generated. I'm going to say matching my sold layout, and then it's going to ask us to upload a file for the design. So earlier in the presentation, I took a screenshot of that design. I'm going to upload that now. If there are any special requests or notes, I can add them here, and I can click Let's Go. This will show you all of the documents that need to be uploaded. So if we have the utility bill or any other supporting documentation, we can choose those now. It's also going to show you all of the documents that will be sent to the homeowner via DocuSign, so they'll receive an email from Freedom Forever. So we will get the utility bill and any other files. Then we can create that project. It's now submitted to Lightspeed. The homeowner can sign all of the DocuSign documents sent from Freedom Forever, and you can get that project submitted. We know that was a lot of information to consume. I'm sure you have questions about that. About halfway through the presentation, we opened up the Q&A so you could start submitting questions. If you haven't seen that, start submitting questions now. We have Randy and Ben from Sunnova here to help out with the Q&A, as well as Rob Angel and Brian Malott. So we'll get all of your Sunnova questions answered now. So before we get started on the full Q&A, I just wanted to introduce Derek Noble, who is the VP of Residential Dealers, and have him introduce himself and his team. Derek, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it, and I'll turn the mic over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. It's taken a bit to get to this point, but given the magnitude of the two organizations, it's totally understandable, and we're just thrilled to be turned on with Freedom Forever now. My background, so those of you who don't know me already, I was with the SunPower organization for 11 years, leading their dealer channel and commercial, and then subsequently was senior vice president of Sunrun, and then for a brief period of time, helped a company called Tygo Energy go public. I am now the VP of residential sales here at Sunnova, and again, we're thrilled to be working with all of you. For those of you that don't know, Sunnova was founded in 2012 and has been public since 2019. One of the reasons that I came to Sunnova was during the interview process, it was articulated as a core value within our business because we are dealer focused. This is how we go to market. This is our channel. This is what we do. That it has to be good for the dealer, the homeowner, and Sunnova. These are the three legs of our stool. And I think that's an incredibly important value that we're going to continue to push forward with. As I said, we are dealer focused. We do have the broadest footprint of financial offerings as an energy service provider across the United States and Puerto Rico, USVI, Saipan, and Guam. So we're going to be in all markets across the U.S., which, very similar to Freedom, is an exceptional feat, both having a loan and TPO product where appropriate. We have our Home Depot relationship, which you guys will be participating in, which is exciting as well. I guess the main point, though, is we have the broadest infrastructure to get projects from inception all the way through completion with Freedom Forever, our partner. We've got a large team. This isn't our first rodeo, and we've got a lot of great people to support you in this endeavor. Some of those are on this call right now. So I've got Ryan Nicholson. Ryan's on my team as a sales leader. He will be handling the account day to day, in addition to myself and another person, Cap Relay, who's not on the call, but he works for Cap. We also have Lisa Diamatis and Joe Peluso. They are part of our onboarding team, which Lisa leads. It's a very rigorous process. We're very selective in who we bring into the fold, and we've been working very closely with the leadership team of Freedom for the last, couple months on this now. And then, of course, we also have Randy Gibson, who I've had the pleasure of working with previously at Sunrun, as with Lisa, and is a rock star trainer in his own right. So I know we got a lot of good questions coming in here. You're in good hands. This is not new to us. We're very good at it. And we know we're working with an exceptional partner in Freedom. So I'll kick it back over to the team. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Derek. And we are going to kick off the Q&A with our first question from Chelsea. And that is, will Catalyst prevent us from picking escalators that aren't allowed in certain states, or do we need to have that knowledge up front? Randy, do you have an answer for that one?
Yeah, sure do. So thank you for the question. It's a solid question. Short answer is the Catalyst will not allow you to pick escalators in states that are not available. So trust the tool. Once you all get access to it, you'll only be able to select products and escalators that are going to be available.
Thanks, Randy. We're going to be peppering you with some questions here. So I hope you are ready and this doesn't tire you out too much. We got a question from Pierre. How many quotes can be included in one proposal?
Yeah, great question, Pierre. You can include as many quotes as you like. So if you want to put together one with a battery, one without a battery, different pricing options, totally up to you. You have that flexibility to create 5 or 10 quotes in there. One of the options that you will have as well is being able to hide those different proposals. So if there's one particular quote you don't want to show up on that dynamic link, you do have the ability to go back to that pricing tab in Catalyst, and there will be a button that says hide from proposal. So you'll be able to show whatever options you like for that customer to see.
Thank you so much. Next question is also from Pierre, and we're gonna double this one up. What is the minimum score requirement, and can you talk a little bit about co-signers? And is it a soft credit check? So we'll cover 3 of these.
Yeah, so the minimum FICO score is 650. The way our FICO score requirements work is it is a waterfall. So we're going to run Experian first, we'll run TransUnion, and then we will run Equifax. We are just looking for a 650 FICO score on one of those 3 credit bureaus. Just one needs to be above 650. It is always a soft credit check for all of our TPO products. And when it comes to cosigners, we do allow for a cosigner. The cosigner should be living in the property for them to be utilized as the credit signer. If you do have someone as a cosigner that has that 650 FICO, when you get into signing the agreement, they should be the primary signer. So when you're adding that new contact, they would be the individual that would sign the contract first. And then the title holder would also need to sign the agreement as a secondary signer.
All right, we'll hide that question. And we covered that already. So this question is from Garrett and is, does this payment cover battery replacement over the lease term?
Garrett, absolutely. That is one of the biggest benefits you all will have with having the battery as part of the PV system. Anytime you pair PV with a battery on the same service agreement, that battery is going to be warranted for 25 years. So the duration of that agreement, once that battery drops below the battery retention for that manufacturer, typically around 70% or so, that's what will trigger us to go out and replace that battery. So homeowner doesn't need to be concerned about that. We are proactively monitoring the system and will provide replacements or repairs throughout the entire term of the agreement.
All right, next up is from Micah. How do we change a design if the automatic designer doesn't have an optimal design?
So one of the options, and I'd say this is the best practice, is first I would recommend utilizing the target offset feature that was shown in that demo with Mark. If you're still not getting the optimal design, I even think we've seen it in the design that we shared there. We had some panels on the north side. You can just hover over those panels and manually turn those off. And then you can highlight the panels that you want to turn on the south-facing mounting plane or east or west, whatever the correct design is. Maybe get rid of one of those floating panels. Once you do that and you've narrowed down that design to be aesthetically pleasing or to target the design you're looking for, you just want to make sure you then click Calculate Production again. So the system gives you the system size and targeted offset. So you can manually turn modules on and off while in Catalyst.
All right, great question. Thank you, Micah. Our next question is from Matt, and that is, how do rebates work with Sunnova?
So if you're referring to the rebate tab that's in the Catalyst tool, we're always going to use 0 for that. But as far as any rebates go, Sunnova will be claiming any rebates there. That's just how the TPO product works. If there's anyone else on the team, maybe Ryan, if you want to chime in and add any additional color for markets, and I'll turn it over to you for that.
Still might be muted if you're trying to answer that. Sorry, anybody like Ben or Joe.
Well, I'll hop in here real quick. Typically, we do have we put 0 in for all the rebates that are there. The only reason why we do have that rebate, there are some states, specifically Oregon, it has the state rebate that needs to go into that square, but for all others, we leave it at 0.
All right, thank you so much, Ben. Our next question is also from Matt. What is Sunnova's policy on when payments begin?
Good question. So the payments will not begin until 30 days after in service. So one of the things we shared in that Catalyst demo was how to download a draft agreement. In that draft agreement, if that customer does have that question, it does state that in the service contract. So 30 days after in service is when the customer will get their first bill.
All right, great questions. Great questions coming in. We are getting a lot of questions. We are going to, and I'll go ahead and answer the one that we're getting a few times in the chat. Yes, there will be a recording of this. We will send it out in a recap later this afternoon with some additional resources. We've had a few questions about a utility list. There will be a utility list that will be included in that recap and also put in the Sales Resource Center. So we will get that content out to you later today as well. And our next question is from Logan. This one's going to be for Rob. What is the base panel for Sunnova?
The base panel will be the Q-Cells 410. I literally just posted the adder sheet with all of the Sunnova items included on it, so everybody can go check that out in the Sales Resource Center as we speak. But for now, we'll be the Q-Cells 410. We are working on a large purchase of another module type that we expect to have within the next, I don't know, couple to few weeks. And so that may change here in the next several weeks. But as of right now, Q-Cells 410.
Thanks, Rob. Next question is from Mary. It is, what screenshot of the system was needed to be uploaded? So that was in the manual project generation. Rob, can you talk a little bit more about what needs to be included to do the manual PG?
Yeah, so I think this, Mark, was when you selected to match the, the system design as closely as possible. So, from a post-sale perspective, and this isn't necessarily anything new with Sunnova, this is the case with really any project. We just need to understand better when we're designing a post-sale, what's the most important thing to you. Do you want us to kind of match what you sold, even if that, has a detriment impact to, the kilowatt hour rate or production or pricing or whatever the case may be? Or do you want us to, kind of maximize the production and the offset as much as we can? So what we would recommend is if, you have a homeowner who's particularly, I guess particular on the design, they're trying to, avoid that, the front of the house or this roof plane or that roof plane. When you design your system, just snap a screenshot and upload that into the project generator so that we know, hey, this is the design that we want, and keep it as close to this as you can. That is only needed if you select the option where you want us to design your system as you sold it, essentially.
Thanks, Rob. Next question is from Andrew. How would the MPU, if needed, adder work? If it's not needed, but added to the overall contract price, would that adder be added to the sales rep commission? Rob, I think that one's for you, talking about when we're in the PG, choosing the upgrades.
Yeah, so this one I think we actually can, we'll look to remove with Sunnova. It's actually not really relevant with Sunnova. We added this option a while back to kind of, sales reps were adding the MPU adder, and we were unsure whether they upsold an MPU or whether they just maybe thought an MPU maybe was needed, and that really was more for purchase contracts in Sunnova. So this is kind of irrelevant, honestly, for Sunnova. So we'll see if we can remove that one. But the answer to your question is we're only going to charge an MPU if it's needed. The only situation that you would want to select the MPU adder, not the MPU if needed, but the MPU adder, is if for whatever reason you've upsold that customer on an MPU. So that's been a part of the conversation, and they say, hey, whether I need it or not, I want an MPU. That's the only time you select that MPU, and by doing so, you're basically telling Freedom, hey, add the MPU whether we need it or not. We really don't advise that you do that. We want to minimize that as much as we can, because of course that comes with additional project delays, and it takes additional time and work and effort to install MPUs. So we don't want you to do that, but if ever you do need to, you have that option. MPU, if needed, is really just a way to say, hey, only add the MPU if you need to install the job. But of course, we're going to do that anyway, so you don't really need to select that.
All right, so I'm going to kick the mic over to Randy for a few moments to talk about office hours and additional trainings and talk about really what's available. This is not going to be the only training that we do for Sunnova. So we do, with the amount of questions that we are getting in the chat, we're trying to answer as many of them as possible for the time that we have available, but this will not be the only training. So Randy, do you want to talk a little bit about what the plans are for office hours and how you guys handle additional trainings?
Yes, absolutely. So, one where we can do additional trainings a couple of ways. This is not intended to give you every detail you need to know, but it absolutely should give you a solid start to get a good understanding for Sunnova's products and our platform. But we can provide additional follow-up training in two different methods. So, option one, we can work with your individual market leaders and provide you all with a webinar specific to your market and or to your region, and allow us to get either hands-on with the tools with you virtually and provide specific questions to your market-specific needs. We also have the ability to come out and do in-person trainings where we can get a little bit deeper into the service contract, the agreement, common objections, things of that nature. So a combination of those two areas are available. I also want to make sure we mention the fact that we do have an online resource hub. Our resource hub is there to provide you on-demand questions or answers to your questions, where you can find video trainings on individual products, as well as clean deal submission checklists on making sure we're putting forth clean deals, and a variety of other common questions and concerns that might come up specific to your market. As far as office hours, I know we will be offering a weekly office hour session. We'll follow up with the date and time of what that would be. But essentially, our training team will make ourselves available to you all for you to join those sessions for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and just get any specific questions that you might have answered during that time.
This is Derek Noble again. If I could also just make another plug for the online training resources, they're extremely robust, and there is a sales specific track. This is not install, design, training, etc. exclusively. So this is with the sales team in mind. So we will link that to everybody on the call and make sure that the Freedom Organization broadly has access to this. But I would sincerely encourage you to take a look at it because it's, as I said, extremely robust.
Thank you guys so much. Those are great answers and great reinforcement for what we plan to do with this partnership in terms of training. Our next question is from Ryan. Are any extra charges that the client chooses to pay via credit card?
Yeah, I'll take that one too. Thank you very much for that question. That is a great call out, especially if you're paying attention to that video that walked you through how to utilize My Sunnova. I know in the video that it shows us a drop down of selecting credit card. I am going to highly encourage everyone to select the ACH instead of selecting the credit card payment for all TPO products. For a lease customer, that homeowner is going to be getting a $15 a month discount. That discount is included in the price that you see when you generate the proposal for your homeowner. So if they sign up via credit card, they absolutely can do that. However, they will get charged $15 more than what's reflected on that proposal. For your PPA products, by signing up for ACH, linking to their bank account, they get a 10% discount off the monthly payment. Same concept there. It is assumed the homeowner signing up for ACH. So you have the option of selecting credit card, but the homeowner would lose the discounts that are already built into their monthly price.
Thanks, Randy. We're getting a lot of questions in our Q&A about Virginia. So I'm going to ask Rob Angel to step in here and give some more information about Virginia so that we can clear up and remove those questions from the queue.
Yeah, thanks, Mark, and would certainly invite the Sunnova team to jump in here to correct me where I'm wrong or add additional detail. But I know we did have a large group in Virginia last week talking about this launch and some other items in Virginia. So there has been a slight change in Virginia. So just a quick little background here. Virginia officially doesn't allow power purchase agreements in the state. They have had this pilot program through the state that has essentially allowed it. It's a process where you need to kind of apply and get approved, and then send every project to the state to essentially get approval to build that job. So that process, though, the Sunnova team needs to kind of confirm with each utility that they are ready and able to accept those projects. And there's a little bit of back and forth that still is ongoing to confirm that every utility will allow those PPAs. So the Sunnova team is working to confirm. The immediate change is that for right this very second in Virginia, the utility list is a little bit cut down versus I think what we originally expected. So there are going to be most of the cooperative utilities have approved the PPA, but several of the larger IOU utilities have not yet approved it, including Dominion and I think the other one's Appalachian. So still pending the approval for those. So those larger IOU utilities will not be live right at this moment as we launch. However, the good news is we are hoping to get approval for the PPAs by those utilities soon, we're hoping. We also have by we I really mean Sunnova. Sunnova also does plan to release a lease in Virginia in the near future, which there is no issue with leases in the state. It's more just a question of getting that product created and released on the Sunnova side. So there is a light very closely at the end of the tunnel here. But again, recap, the utility list in Virginia will be a little bit smaller right away at launch, and we will open up additional utilities later. Sunnova team, anyone want to correct me or keep me honest there?
No, that was a great summary. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it. Again, Derek Noble. We are having a fast follow with a lease product that should be coming very, very shortly. And again, to reiterate, the PPA piece we are working through right now, and it's one of the strengths of Sunnova and Freedom Forever, is we have policy teams that help us influence markets, which we are pioneering. We're pioneering markets here, right? So the other piece is that the co-ops are approving PPAs. So we'll get more specificity around this. This is rather real time. The tremendous opportunities without question there. And we are committed to partnering with Freedom to execute. So more to come on this. We are aggressively pursuing. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Rob, Derek. I appreciate that. We are going to take our next question from Jason. I noticed an infant option on the drop-down of the finance page within Freedom's proposal software. Will that ever be used, or are we always creating a catalyst and having to do manual projects in Freedom's portal? Rob, you want that one?
Yeah, I'd love to take that one, and again, would invite anyone from the Sunnova side to chime in where I misspeak. But yeah, and I do want to add a little bit more color to. I know Mark touched on it once or twice throughout the training there, the main training. And really, what Mark mentioned was that there's kind of Aurora behind the scenes of Catalyst, and I just want to make sure everybody understands what that means for you. Within Aurora, there's different accounts, what they call tenants, and essentially it's kind of like having, the way you can look at it is like having different logins to Lightspeed. It's kind of the same idea. And what I mean by that is that the different tenants at this point in time don't necessarily talk to each other. And so I just want to make it clear that if you build a job in Catalyst through Sunnova, you're not going to have that job available in your other, Freedom Aurora account. And those are two separate accounts and two separate tenants. And so the implication there, and to directly answer this question, is that for right now, for the foreseeable future, we do not yet have plans to have Sunnova as a financing option within Freedom's main Aurora tenant that you currently would go into, sell a Mosaic job or sell an Enfin job or a cash job. So they are two completely separate accounts. They don't talk to each other. While, again, Catalyst does use Aurora, there is that kind of Catalyst, overlay, so to speak, to kind of have you directly interact with Aurora. So with Catalyst and with Sunnova, you should not expect to be able to get directly into Aurora to access, sales mode or the other things that you would normally do for, again, Mosaic or Enfin or cash deals. So I hope that's clear. I want to make sure we do speak to that. Anyone from the Sunnova side, feel free to chime in with additional context.
I agree with everything you just said, and don't have much more to add to that. Obviously, we're working very closely with you guys from an API standpoint, doing some other things, but that's absolutely accurate. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a great. I'll just add to that a little bit, Derek, on the API side. So again, we are, the way we typically launch these products, we want to make sure that we get the products in your hands as quickly as we can. And so, especially in these states where you don't have a TPO product today, you need them, you want them, we want to get them out to the field so that you can sell them and utilize them as quickly as you can. And so typically what we do, and you've seen this recently with other launches, is that we will push a product out with pretty minimal integration and pretty sometimes can be kind of a choppy process in terms of at least double entering information. You're going to have to build the system in Catalyst and Sunnova and then manually enter that into the manual project generator. So we know that's not necessarily ideal. We do have plans to improve that process, make it more streamlined, make it easier for you. So there is an integration more similar to what you have with Aurora and what we call PG Lite, or even Sunrun, how we have that integration there. So expect that in the future. But again, the main goal for us is get the product live, get it into your hands so that you can sell it, and we will iterate and improve and enhance the experience as we go.
So we've gotten this question quite a bit, so we can probably wrap up a lot of them here. And we'll Randy, if you could just take this one and explain from both angles, what happens if a homeowner sells, and is there an option at some point to buy the system out?
Yeah, good question. So when it comes to homeowner transferring the system, that's going to be the most common way if the home is going up for sale. So the homeowner has a couple of options. So if the home is going for sale, they can either simply transfer the monthly payments to the new homeowner. They have the option to prepay the remaining portion of the agreement. So if they're 5 years in, they can prepay the remaining 20 years and then just transfer the use of the system. New homeowner has no payments. For PPAs and leases, the third option is slightly different. For PPA options, homeowners do have the option of purchasing the system or buying out the agreement if they choose to go down that route. They don't have that option necessarily for lease options in most markets. They would just simply transfer the system over to the new homeowner. As far as the expiration goes, the agreement is still going to run its full term, which is going to be that 25-year agreement.
All right, thanks so much. So the next question we've gotten a few times in there. What is the process for getting the logins? Rob, do you want to touch on when we should see these logins get pushed out and what that process will look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, we'll call on the Sunnova team to keep me honest. But yeah, so we sent through a list to Sunnova last week that was about 8,000 sales reps that either have sold a job since January 1st or had their account created since January 1st. We expect that to be pretty much everybody that needs a Sunnova account. There's probably a few people missing in there here and there, but we sent them a very large list to onboard. And so over the weekend, many of you probably got emails from Sunnova that basically said, hey, click here to create your password or create your account. So most of you at this point should have that email in your inbox. If you don't see it, check your spam, check your quarantine folder, whatever that may be, and really double check, make sure you don't have it. If you didn't get one, this is where maybe I'll lean on the Sunnova team. I think you can still double check and make sure there is a chance that maybe you got an account created, but your email just got lost somewhere. I'm not sure. So you can probably go to the page and try to reset your password, but I'll defer to the Sunnova team on that. If that fails, then it is possible that you didn't get an account, in which case we certainly can go ahead and get you an account. I want to be mindful of our dealer admin team's kind of bandwidth here, because we don't want to have thousands of emails going into that inbox. But I would say for now, that probably is the best thing. If you need a Sunnova account and you've done everything you could to confirm that you haven't gotten that email, go ahead and email dealersupport@freedomforever.com, or you can chat into the sales concierge team, let them know you need an account, and they'll pass that through to our dealer admin team. But please, please, please double, triple check your email. Make sure you didn't get one already. Maybe Randy, Joe, Ryan, not sure if one of you guys, is there a backdoor way in if they didn't get the email? Can they try to reset password, or is there some other option just to confirm?
I'll turn that over to Joe. Do you want to take that one?
Looks like Joe and Ryan both might be having some mic issues right now. So Joe, not sure if you can hear us or can talk. If you're talking and we're not hearing you, just go ahead and put it in the speaker chat here. We'll see if we can convey your answer. But for now, guys, Mark, why don't you move on and we'll circle back to that answer. Okay, so it looks like Joe put in the phone number for the Sunnova dealer support team. So we'll include that in the recap email. But for anybody with a pen, you can call this number and reach out to Sunnova. It's 877-237-1813. I'll read that one more time, 877-237-1813. Again, we'll include that in the recap email. So if you need an account, you haven't gotten it, or you are having issues accessing it, you can go ahead and call that number. That's the Sunnova dealer support team.
Hey, Rob, it's Ryan. Can you hear me?
I gotcha. Yep.
All right. Figured out the mic situation. So just to jump on top of what Joe was saying, those links that we sent you are only good for 24 hours. So if you didn't take advantage of that when it came through, we will have to do a reset there. Dealer support can assist. The phone number can assist. I can as well. Check your spam folders and check your junk folders from emails from Partner Connect. Sometimes they do get routed there. Do give it a shot if and when that email is still there, because there's a possibility that it was created in the last 24 hours. And then if not, just run that up the chain and get it over to my team and me, and we'll get it squared away.
Thanks, Ryan. Wanted to touch on a couple of questions we're getting in our Q&A, and that is, are there any zoning restrictions specifically in Florida? So is there any spot in the state where this would not be recommended?
Sounds like that's a little bit of PTSD from another finance partner recent launch. There's nothing, Derek or your team.
No, the answer is
heard
no.
of anything. Yeah.
No, I mean, there's Miami-Dade AHJs are fun, but beyond that, no. I mean, we're committed to being every spot that you guys do business in Florida, so no.
Yeah, there is in those Southern Florida AHJs, though, there is a certain win rating that the panels require. And honestly, I'm not sure offhand if the Q cells is rated for what is required in those AHJs. In that case, though, we'll make sure to get a module that is. I'll see if I can track that answer down and circle back to that. But that would be the only consideration. There is no blocker or any issue on the financing side.
Yeah, and I think that calls into something I wanted to throw out to the team here broadly, is that the Sunnova approved vendor list, or AVL list, as we call it for TPO specifically, is a little more rigorous in the TPO space than is it for loan. We do both, obviously, but we have a very broad list. So whatever the organization freedom they choose to use to provide to you guys, please take confidence in the fact it's the top tier product, and it is a long list. So we can address that, to your point, Rob, for win rating, et cetera. We've got choices. So thanks.
Yes. Can I add to that? When I meet with Val and her team, I'll be sure to go over the high win requirements that we have, specifically on the East Coast and in Miami-Dade. It's going to be more racking related than it is panel related.
Great. Thank you.
So we got this question a few times in the chat as well about the validation and using the My Sunnova app. Can you all talk about how to satisfy that requirement with your quote welcome call, and what's different in the state of Nevada?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So one, for all states outside of Nevada, we encourage you all to initiate that welcome call with your homeowner at the table, at point of signing. You can do that through that My Sunnova application and complete that session online. There is a second way to do that. You can do a virtual call in over to complete the welcome call. However, the online validation is going to be the highly preferred method. For Nevada, there is a law there in Nevada that requires you to only complete validation via phone call. So in Nevada, you may still want to sign your customer up. I'd encourage you to do so. Sign them up for the My Sunnova app and have them complete their ACH. But you will need to call in and complete the online or the verbal validation with your homeowner. My best practice for that, especially in Nevada, is have the customer call from their own phone, not from your phone as a sales rep. And you want to be silent throughout that phone validation. Otherwise, you're going to assume you might be coaching that customer. So allow the homeowner to call in themselves from their phone and allow them to answer the same questions that they would answer if it were online.
Thanks, Randy. And while we have you, could you, we've gotten a lot of questions about flat roofs, manufactured homes. Can you all talk about like roof types and home types briefly?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, flat roofs, no problem. We can install on those or allow installation on those. When it comes to a manufactured home, we do allow manufactured home with 3 caveats. So A, the home does have to be structurally sound. B, it does need to be on a concrete foundation. And third, which is, probably I'd say where you might find it more difficulty, is just ensuring that the homeowner owns the land. So those are the 3 caveats to allow us to complete a manufactured home for approval.
And Randy, while you have the floor here, could you also speak to financing, or I guess including other prep work in the PPA, whether that's electrical work, MPU, roof work? Could you just touch on kind of the policies on the Sunnova side on that?
Yeah, I will. I don't want to misspeak here, so I know if Joe or Ryan are here, I'll let them chime in and just make sure that we're going to give you all correct details.
Hey, Rob, to confirm, your question was adding in additional scope of work into the PPA or lease pricing?
Yes.
The official policy is that additional items should be processed through our accessory loan opportunity, but given the loan situation we have with you right now, we might have to get a little creative. There's obviously going to be some time where certain items are going to get rolled into that pricing, but sometimes you'll find that the TPO pricing might be limited because of the available sun hours and the rate that you're selling against. You might not be able to fit some of those items into the pricing. So it could be more of a case-by-case basis, but always open to a conversation on how we can improve that.
All right, sounds good. So I'll maybe recap that one, and we can certainly take that one offline with some of these follow-up trainings. But kind of what I take away from that is that if it's kind of required, it's going to be very similar to what everyone here on this call is used to with other finance providers. As long as it's kind of required to install the solar, we can include it in the scope of work, and there is potentially an additional loan that we may be able to use in the future for, say we have a full re-roof needed and we kind of can't cover the cost with the PPA pricing that's available to us through Sunnova. Sunnova does have an accessory loan available in that scenario. However, Freedom does not yet have access to it for several different reasons, but we are in conversation with them to potentially open that up in the future. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody on that answer.
Thanks, Rob. I know we have gone a little bit over time here and some of the audience is left, but for those of you who are still here, I want to make sure we get through these questions. What are the rules on change orders? Is that a question for Lisa?
I can take that as well. When you say what are the rules for change orders, could you be more specific? We do have a change order process where you can amend a number of items within the original quote, whether it is a sold system or still a lead. You have the opportunity to build several different systems inside, but assuming we're talking about a post-sale change order, I do believe, and Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, the initial plan was for the sale to go through, the operations team to process the site survey information and tee up the change order as needed in order for any layout changes or material changes to be taken care of by that team and then sent over to sales for approval as well as the homeowner. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think the real core of the question here is what requires a change order and what doesn't. So maybe if you can speak to production tolerances, what kind of equipment changes would require a change order versus what would be able to just kind of fall within the production tolerance. So maybe just speak to kind of when would a change order be needed versus any other remedy or any other solution?
Sure. So change orders. Well, let me read to you the engineering tolerances that we have. Plus or minus 5 degrees for tilt, plus or minus 5 degrees for an azimuth. For solar access or availability, it's plus or minus 3% for the shading aspect. And then should production change by negative 2% or increase by positive 10%, that will trigger a client-facing change order in that case. Anytime you change manufacturers over a major component, that could trigger a customer-facing change order, as well as any adjustment to the price, savings, things that are obviously going to be important for the homeowner to review and confirm before they move forward. Not much different from other TPO providers out there. The difference is we don't have an embedded tolerance into a contract itself, so you don't have any wiggle room to just make the change on the fly. Meaning if you sold a 300 watt or 350 watt panel and it changes to a 380 watt panel, well, then that could possibly trigger a change order because it's changing the system size. There's a lot of nuance to it, but there are tips that I can provide as we go through to the team that's processing these to kind of avoid client-facing change orders where possible. But it's important that our shared customer, the homeowner, be in the loop about all of these changes. And so, yes, you might find that we have a bit more client-facing change orders than you're accustomed to, but it is all for the benefit of the homeowner.
So just to be clear on one scenario, Ryan, I want to make sure we get a good answer on this. So let's just say, for example, we changed from a 400 watt module to a 390 watt module, but the production stays within that -2 plus 10% tolerance. Would that require, and by the way, when we say change order for this group really only cares about client-facing change orders, not contractor change orders, behind-the-scenes change orders. That's more for the ops team. So in this example, again, module wattage changes, but production stays within tolerance. Would that scenario require a customer-facing change order?
Quite possibly, yes, because we'd be changing the system size. It's likely going to impact the cost of the system as well, even if it's minute. I've seen scenarios where the system hasn't processed them, so it's not a perfect calculation every time. But yes, there is a possibility that if you change the panel size, it will trigger a client-facing change order.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that. Thank you, Rob. Question from Lauren, and this has to do with interconnection. Does Sunnova send out the CPUC, or do we have to do it? And for utility approval applications, will we need Sunnova contact information? Do they provide a pre-filled doc? If no, where do we find that info? It's probably for Randy and Rob. You guys want to grab that one?
Yeah, I think this one may have come from the Freedom AX team. So I think this one we may generally want to skip for now. But yeah, the CPUC is going to be within Sunnova's docs, so they'll handle that one, and then we'll get you guys the answer on kind of the contact information and kind of communication path for behind the scenes Freedom related items.
This question is from Shane. Do we need to go through any certification process with Sunnova? Randy, I know in conversations earlier you had mentioned something about the My Sunnova app and a picture popping up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a great question. So when you initially get your logins, when you first log in, you're going to be taken to our Sunnova Force website. In that page, there's going to be a green bar. It's going to be one of the first things you see when you very first log in that says become a verified Sunnova sales rep. I'd encourage you all to please just click that green box that's going to pop up when you very first log in. And it's going to take you to a process. It's going to ask you to take a snapshot of yourself, a little selfie, as well as uploading a copy of a driver's license or ID card to validate and verify that the photo and the ID are the same person. Once you have done that process, that should take about 5 minutes. That'll essentially allows you to become a verified Sunnova rep. The benefit that is for you all is when your customers then will log in and create their My Sunnova account in that My Sunnova app. If you've gone through those steps, that picture of yourself will then populate, and that's what they'll click to confirm that you are the person. That same image is the person that is actually providing them with this proposal or this agreement. You only need to go through that step once, and it's a pretty easy process for you to become a verified Sunnova sales rep. But highly recommend you all do that. That's also something we can provide some additional direction on in our office hours and our webinar or in-person training sessions that will give you all more details following this.
Thanks, Randy. We got a few more questions here before we wrap up. And this one is about solar math. So just to confirm, freedom adders are not taken into account when pricing the system on Sunnova, and adders will need to be calculated into the pricing of the system. Rob, this is like your specialty, right?
Yeah, happy to take this one. So yeah, I mean, Sunnova and really any TPO product for the most part is going to be priced a little differently than I think what most are used to on kind of the loan side, specifically in Aurora. So on any TPO, you're starting what I kind of call top down. So you're starting, you pick your rate, you pick your escalator, and based on that system and the sun hours and the production, that's going to yield a certain EPC, and that EPC is the gross system size, or the gross system cost that Freedom is going to get paid for that project. So that's it. That's as much as we're going to get paid on that job. From that top line number, you as the sales rep to know what the net PPW is, and ultimately what you're trying to figure out, I'm sure, is what the commission is. You need to subtract the adders from that top line number. And so let's just say you have $30,000 is the gross system price based on the EPC per watt and the system size. So you start at $30,000, but then you have, say, a $10,000, $10,000 in adders, whether it's MPU or roof work or whatever. Your net cost is going to be $20,000. And so if that's, divide that into your system size, and that'll give you your net PPW. So it's super important that as you're pricing jobs, you're looking at the pricing scenario. And I do understand that it is, a little bit more complex to price, TPO products rather than loan products, but that is super important for you as a sales rep to be doing while you're pricing jobs. You want to make sure that you have a healthy net PPW based on the adders of your job. So generally in a TPO environment, you're going to have a couple different ways to increase your gross system price or your gross PPW, or by effect your net PPW. You're going to want to either increase your escalator, you're going to want to increase your rate, your kilowatt hour rate, or you're going to want to increase the system production. So you have several toggles to pull to be able to do that. But again, it is super important that you're doing that math. Again, just to kind of compare that, the difference between that and say pricing a Mosaic deal in Aurora is that you start at the net PPW that you want, and then you add the adders on top, and then wherever the gross system price lands is where it lands, but you've made sure that you've kind of started with the net PPW that you want. So two very different, that's kind of the bottom up approach as we call it. So two very different ways to price. Make sure that you're doing that math on the TPO side whenever you're doing that, to make sure that you're not selling an unprofitable job or that you're not getting the commission that you ultimately want.
Thanks, Rob. Got a few more questions and we'll get wrapped up here. In a PPA, if the system is down or need maintenance, does the homeowner still pay for that bill during that time? That's up for Sunnova folks.
Yes. Yeah. So the customer is still going to be required to make payments for that system. Keeping in mind that depending upon the type of PPA, if they're a traditional PPA, they're paying for the production of the system. If it's a lease, they're just simply paying the fixed monthly payment, similar to the PPA EZ, which is a fixed monthly payment. However, our team does monitor these systems proactively. So we will most likely know that there's something wrong with that system before the homeowner does. So we'll be proactively reaching out to that customer to schedule a service. We are able to remotely diagnose any issues that the customer may have. And then also part of our PPA EZ, as well as our lease options, both of these do come with an energy guarantee, which is 85% in most markets, except for in Florida, where we just simply can't offer one. So a little caveat, little note there. So we are offering an energy guarantee, which means we are going to be very proactive in ensuring that system is in fact working and customers are getting what they pay for.
question is, does Sunnova accept ITINs for pre-approval?
We do not, in short answer. So social security numbers are what we would need.
Thank you. What is the max system size for these TPO products?
The 50 kilowatt system is the max residential system size.
Thank you, Randy. And we're going to wrap this up with a question about training. So again, we'll send out a recap for this. We also have a link to my training calendar. I'm the senior product education specialist here at Freedom. So we will schedule trainings with staffs. I know that when Randy mentioned trainings earlier, we are also going to get market specific trainings. So this is not the only touch point we'll have as we grow with this partnership. So look for communications, but also you can email me at marklennox@freedomforever.com. We'll shoot you back the training calendar and you can get your team signed up. We'll make sure that we can collaborate with the Sunnova folks as well. They're just as eager to train you guys as I am. So we are incredibly excited to have them on board and grateful for all the help they provided with this webinar. For everyone that came on the Sunnova team today, thank you so much, Randy, Ben, Derek, Ryan, Joe, Lisa. We are so grateful for all the questions you were able to answer for us. We are going to wrap this up and we will send out a recap later this afternoon. If your question wasn't answered, you can always reach out to us again at Product Education. And we're going to send all of your questions to the Sunnova team to kind of get a breakdown so we know where to direct our trainings as well when we get this going on these market-specific trainings. So thank you so much for being here. We're going to wrap this one up. It's about 20 after. And look forward for that recap later this afternoon. Thanks so much, everybody.